Some of the other questions that I have gotten, how do we stop Pritzker mandates? Is there any willingness to rein in Pritzker? Um, you know, I think that there's been a concern, and Democratic legislators have actually expressed this as well, behind the scenes when they're not on record, that Governor Pritzker, we're now in essentially year 2 of issuing emergency executive orders. So the legislature has met multiple times. We've gone through a full legislative season. And, this is an area where I think when it comes to matters of public policy and public health, this is an area where the legislature should be the ones stepping up and setting policy and then relying on the executive to actually carry that policy out. That's the way that things are supposed to work. Instead, what we've seen, and this is not a problem, unique to Illinois, we've also seen it at the federal level as well, where, the administrations are simply ignoring the legislators, doing what they want. And, it makes people, I think, very unhappy about the process because when it comes to any piece of legislation, win or lose, at least if you've gone through the legislative process, you feel that you've had an opportunity to participate, you've had an opportunity to be heard, and maybe you can take the fight on, another day. When everything is being done through executive orders and subject to, in our court system, what's referred to as an arbitrary and capricious standard, which is a very difficult threshold to challenge, I think that actually leads to people not having as much confidence and faith in what administrations are doing, precisely because the due process part of it, the legislative process, they've been cut out of it. And, this again is an area where, unfortunately, the Illinois House procedural rules make it very difficult for any legislator, Republican or Democrat, to try to bring some control or guidance over what the Pritzker administration is doing. Because here again, we're in a situation where if you want to have your piece of legislation called to the House floor, the Speaker of the House has ultimate decision-making authority as to whether it can be brought or it can't be brought. So when you're the Illinois Speaker of the House and you're a Democrat and you are wanting to support your Democratic governor, there's really not a lot of incentive to do anything. This is an area where I actually think that a little more divided government down in Springfield would be a healthy thing, because you would at least make sure that, more sides and more opinions and more stakeholders are actually having a say and getting a hearing in the process. So this is yet another area where, and also too, this is an area as well where partisan politics does come into play. Certainly when it came to the Right of Conscience Act, there were many Democrats I spoke to who actually did not like what the governor was doing, and they either abstained, or once they saw that Robin Gable had the votes for it, then they flipped their votes so that they could curry favor with the governor. But that again is another area where it's unfortunately it's not necessarily the way to get great policy.